there was an article written which questioned whether we need to move on essentially from the winsome style of Tim Keller that maybe was suitable for a kind of what it called neutral culture, where Christianity, while not being reviled, was not particularly praised. It was somewhere in the middle. Now it says, hey, we've moved on to a culture where Christianity is seen in negative terms, and it's almost a bit like you've got to fight fire with fire. You've got to go in with a more kind of combative, assertive. You can't just say, hey, let's all try and be friends and speak in a winsome manner. So you got, I guess, your whole sort of way of doing things was being questioned and challenged in that kind of conversation that was going on in social media at the time. I'm sure you got wind of that, Tim.
Yes.
What's your feeling on that whole sort of debate that sparked?
I'll say two things pretty brief.
Yeah.
Because I still think this is a little more of a US issue than a UK issue. And in the United States, up until fairly recently, if you lived in big parts of this country, especially in the Southeast or the Midwest, or even lots of the West, at least away from the coasts, Christianity was seen either as a positive or as in a neutral way. It was either regarded as positively or neutrally. Okay. That was not the case in the Northeast. In New York City, when I got here in 1989, no. It was much more like it has been in the UK for a very long time, or Europe, which is Christianity is seen as sort of, at least, just, we tried that. It didn't really work. I mean, that's the European approach. We've tried that. It doesn't really work. And it is negative. I mean, it not necessarily always hostile, because British people tend to be just a little more courteous than Americans, but it's certainly disdainful. And an awful lot of Christians in America just did not experience that until fairly recently. And so they say, well, the Tim Keller winsome approach doesn't work. Well, listen, the Tim Keller approach was forged in New York City. And I'm sorry, it was never a neutral or positive world. So whatever you say about my approach, I was forged in a negative world. The second thing, though, is, and this is really where it becomes more US than UK, and this is the people who are saying it's time not to be so winsome. These are folks who actually want to change the political world here. They would like the state to be more overtly Christian. They want Christians to be much more politically active in bringing that about. I think that's a little bit hard for most of us, like my British Christian friends, to even understand. And what they therefore don't want, and you can't be winsome there. You basically have to get political.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks feel like my approach has always been to say, and I will say it right now, is whatever our political future is, and there is a problem. In fact, it is also true in Europe too, that there's the rise of the right, there's the left. There's no doubt there's instability, and I don't know the way forward. But I think that there's room for differences of opinion amongst Christians who are united on the gospel. But they would rather me not say that over here. They would rather say, no, the Christian church has to be aligned with a particular political agenda. And that's really their motive, I think. And I think it's a little hard. Frankly, I do find it hard because we're very much in touch with people in Africa and Christians in Africa, China, Europe, and they're trying to say, what's going on there? What in the world? And I said, well, you have to understand right now there's a movement among some Christians who say we have to be more politically aligned.
For more conversations between Christians and skeptics, subscribe to the Unbelievable podcast. And for more updates and bonus content, sign up to the Unbelievable newsletter.